So good evening, everyone, and welcome to our second New Rules Summit. Gender inequality is a critical issue for the New York Times. It's one of the defining issues of the age. Everyone knows that. That's, I guess, partly why people are here. It's also an incredibly important issue for us as a news organization. Many of the top reporters, some at my table, the columnists and the editors who cover it week in, week out for us, are going to be here on stage over the course of tonight and tomorrow. But it's also a really important issue for the Times as a company and a community. You can't break story after story about the failures of other organizations without feeling an absolute imperative to put your own house in order. You can't seek to reach out beyond your heartland audiences to find new audiences without seeking to reflect their diversity in the choices you make about who to employ and who to promote into leadership. Ours is a talent-led, people-led business. But for too long, like many other media organizations, the New York Times missed out on a lot of top talent because it offered too few opportunities to women and non-binary people and to ethnic and other minorities. We've made, I believe, significant progress in recent years, but we also know we've still got much more to do. In a moment, one of our own top female leaders is going to be up here. It's nearly 6 years since I managed to tempt Meredith Kopit-Levien away from Forbes to join the New York Times. Where is she? And since she arrived at the Times, and pretty much, I have to say, from day one, she's moved through the organization like a whirlwind. Today, she's our Chief Operating Officer. She's a fearless and profoundly creative change agent who's been a critical driver of the digital revolution we're trying to create and promote at the Times. But as you'll hear, she's also a leader who's passionately committed to the equality agenda herself. But before we hear from Meredith, let's just remind ourselves of how much has happened since we gathered for the first New Rules Summit 10 months ago. If you were there, you'll remember that the summit coincided with the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, memorably enough. But since that moment, it's only 10 months ago, the Times has covered a deluge of stories about gender, diversity, and equality. Some of those stories remind us how big the challenge still is, while others mark genuine progress and even some real breakthroughs. But as you'll see, they've certainly kept our news and opinion teams pretty busy.
Indelible.